Howdy, y'all. Marqus Aycart here, your friendly neighborhood branding guy with over 20 years of experience. You are watching and listening to Made You Look, the podcast that's all about brand identity, strategy, the art of storytelling, and creating those first impressions that lead to lasting impressions. On today's episode, we are covering identity with my special guest, Carolina Acosta, co-creator and founder of TRAGOS, a popular Latina-owned bilingual card game for adults that celebrates Latino culture with relatable questions. Join us as we break down how you build a brand identity that doesn't just set the mood, it builds a world rooted in culture, representation, and connection. This and a whole lot more on Made You Look. Suave, hit it.
This is a test.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. So, we're getting straight into it with identity. Identity is such a loaded word, and we're going to get into that. So we define it not only for, today's episode, but for you, the audience, because most of you say, oh, I know what identity means. But there's a difference between identity, which we all know. We've come to terms with that word. But then there's also brand identity. So, for example, in this case, the moment you say TRAGOS, people already picture a vibe. So keep that in mind, all right? But before we dig into talking about building a brand where the product, in this case, is a card game, but the real product, in reality, it's a party starter. And its ethos and culture is in representation. So let me, before I introduce my guest, let me get into this spiel about brand identity and identity. I usually, shoot from the hip and I just rant, but I have to get into this definition because I think it's going to break down this episode clearly. So what is the true meaning of identity according to Wikipedia, Webster's dictionary, not ChatGPT? Identity is the set of qualities, beliefs, personality traits, appearance, or expressions that characterize a person or group. Identity emerges during childhood as a child starts to comprehend their self-concept, and it remains a consistent aspect throughout different stages of their life, meaning that it constantly evolves. It's not a set thing. Now, brand identity. Brand identity, this is what I specialize in, this is my world. Brand identity is a collection of tangible and intangible elements, for example, your logo, colors, voice, values, and the personality and tone that you create, which is usually tasked by a company or agency to create and to shape how consumers perceive it, making the business recognizable, distinct, and memorable in the marketplace, thus influencing trust and loyalty. It's the company's carefully crafted image differentiating itself from competitors through consistent visual, verbal, and experiential cues, distinct from the broader, often uncontrollable consumer perception. Woo, that is a lot. That's a lot, but it's important to understand the difference between the identity that, probably most of you understand and brand identity when it comes to one is cultivated and the other is created and manufactured. And that may sound negative, but the goal is that, while you have a lifetime to establish identity, the other one has to essentially hit the ground running and, create that perception and tone for its, target audience. So with that said, Carolina, welcome to Made You Look, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How do you say Feliz Año Nuevo?
Feliz Año Nuevo.
Yeah. That's right, folks. In this podcast, we speak. We're bilingual here. This is, and it's important. Thank you for coming on because it's important. So many key words in today's marketplace has changed. Inclusion is a big part of the world we live in today. Diversity, right? Representation. So, with that said, give me, to set the mood here, give me the one-liner. What is Tragos and what problem does it solve at a party?
All right. So happy to be here. I love seeing you in your podcast element. This is a new side of you I've seen. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here and talk about Tragos. And it's funny you mentioned identity, because as you were, reading the definition, it just really came or clicked to me that Tragos is so much a culmination of this brand that I've created and also my own personal identity. So one-liner, Tragos is, as you said, a Latino party game that encourages people to, do challenges, dares, drink a little, and it's supposed to just open up the room.
Yeah.
It gets people talking, sharing stories, what they have in common, using culture, Latino culture in this case, as the baseline for that type of unity.
So let's define for our audience that no speaky the Spanish, that
Right.
no hablan español. What does Tragos mean?
Right. Tragos translates to drinks, shots, yeah. So when people hear that immediately, the first thing are like, all right, where are the shots at?
Where's the party at?
Shots not included, guys.
Yeah, shots not included. So it's funny because Kimmy and I met you at a Samsung Unidos event that was produced by Alpha, right?
Yeah.
And that's an acronym for, I'm sorry, Alpha, shame on me. I know it's, because it's not how it phonetically sounds. It's not ALFA, it's ALPHA, right? Or no?
ALPFA?
There you go, ALPFA, there you go. Shame on me.
It's a great community, but yeah, their acronym's a little long. It's basically a association of Latino professionals. That's all I got.
And then the FA. Alpha, we're so sorry. Don't worry. We'll fix all of that information in the information below, and we're going to have it running across the screen. But we met you at that event. We were presenting as a, there was two sides to it. There was the speaker side, and then there was the presenter side, people presenting their business who want to obviously integrate themselves in the Latino market, or just the ever-evolving New York City, marketplace. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when you went on stage and I heard the word Tragos, I instantly said, okay, I'm in. Because I'm Latino. I grew up in New York City. Then I spent 10 years in Texas, and that's a whole different kind of demographic of Latino. But in the end, that experience taught me that whether you're Puerto Rican, Dominican, Ecuadorian, is Brazilian Latino? We'll include it, right? All of these different cultures that represent South America, the Caribbean, Central America, you've picked a word that it's instantly recognizable. And to me, you're not my client, and so I can give you my, objective, and in this case, subjective response, which is, that's genius. Like, you picked a name that's universal, because even as we live in this world that's constantly evolving, and we've mentioned keywords like diversity and inclusion, Tragos has become the new sort of like, if you don't know what Tragos is at this point, it's almost like, well, what rock have you been under, right? Like, everybody knows certain Spanish terms. Like, now we even... For God's sake, we even made an Adam Sandler. Well, not we, but there was a movie with Adam Sandler called Spanglish, right? It's become part of our mainstay in the lexicon and wordsmithing of this world today. So who is Tragos for? And, and we're going to get more into your origin story, but let's ultimately, we're all about solutions focused, that mindset of, operations lead to deliverables, but deliverables are ultimately part of the solutions-focused package. Who is Tragos for, and who surprised you by loving it?
Yeah. So you see it on the box there. The tagline or the slogan that we came up with at the very beginning was the party game para Latinos. And it wasn't to exclude anybody per se. It was to really represent a group of people that usually don't find themselves represented, particularly in toys and games. I remember, playing like Trivial Pursuit or Taboo and, games that I love, but sometimes you got to just skip a word because you're like, who is that? Like nobody in the family knows who that is, what's going on. And so, yes, it's primarily for Latinos, and now we say and friends, because in the time that we've developed the game, in the time that we've played it with so many people across different events, my favorite people to play with actually are just people from like across the world.
Yeah.
I've played with Europeans, Middle Easterns, Africans, Asians, and there's always something or multiple things that they can also relate to. Because if you have an immigrant mom, then we all have the same childhood, basically.
That's funny you say that. I saw a meme the other day, and, I feel so ashamed talking about memes because, after a while, social media just gets so oversaturated and redundant. And let's see if I'm picking these cards correctly.
Oh yeah, I should have picked them up before.
All right, let's give people a little taste of Tragos, which can be found at your local Targets or Target.com, Walmart, right? And is it at Barnes and Nobles now, or?
Not yet, but we're also on Amazon, our own website, and TikTok Shop.
So that's funny. I and shame on me for not having this in my home, because I've told you one challenge I found is that I can't find it in my local Targets. Well, so is it based on certain regions or? Yeah,
it's not everywhere. I think it's select Targets, select Walmarts, but you can always find the location online.
But you can always find it universally through .com, through their website, right?
Yeah, you can always order online.
So yes, zero excuses for me. So for example, one of the cards says, "Si todavía le temas a la chancla, no seas pendejo y toma 5 traguitos." So that translates, and you have the translation, which is, if you still fear la chancla is the flip-flop, right? Yeah. Then take 5 sips. So that's, hey, that's how you get the party started, because guess what? Everyone fears la chancla. When I hear those chanclas on the beach, I turn around instantly. I'm like,
silly.
Like, Mom? Or here's another one. Si has comido arroz y frijoles en las últimas 24 horas, toma 2 traguitos. So that means if you've eaten rice and beans in the past 24 hours, then take 2 sips. Carolina, you're getting people drunk here, because these are obvious, Latino tropes, right? Si naciste fuera de Latam, that one I don't know, y nunca has estado en el país de tus padres, toma 3 traguitos. If you were born outside of, that's like an acronym, of Latin America, and have never been to your parents' country, take 3 sips. Actually, that's an interesting one, because this now breaks the box in the sense of, figuratively and literally, a lot of Latinos don't know their heritage or haven't visited their roots. So this plays on that aspect of growing up Latino. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of cards in there that, they'll speak to different audiences within the general Latino space. There's the more American Latinos, there's the migrants, like speaking more like my parents, for example.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of something in there for everyone.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's a great segue to understand the origin story. Where did this idea come from? Because it's you and your cousin, right? You're the 2 founders. So where did this idea come from? What moment made you say, you know what, we need this? Like, this is not out there. Like, we need this out there. Mm-hmm. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so the lore.
Yeah, the lore. The origin story.
It starts off when I was 10 years old. No, I won't go that far back.
I took my first trago.
Maybe. But I guess it would... Okay, so my background, like my heritage, is Colombian Dominican. And I grew up mostly with my mom, and then I would spend the summers with my dad.
It sounds like it's a lot of partying. Those 2 cultures together.
Yeah, it was great time. Always like a ton of cousins around, just always a lot of fun. But, my mom's side, I don't know if you've spent a lot of time with Colombians, they're very particular. Most of them are. They like dress a certain way, smell good a certain way. Like they have like a certain
a sort of je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, the appearance.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't have any of that. And my mom reminded me every day, like, you don't wear makeup, you don't wear jewelry, you don't like You don't like to dance. I was a kid. Like, I was still like trying to figure myself out.
You're trying to figure out your identity.
Exactly.
See what we did there? You see what we did there?
Same thing on my dad's side, like I still don't feel as Dominican as I probably should. So when someone tries to like speak Dominican to me, I'm like, what'd you say?
But that's, I guess ultimately someone trying to put you in the box. But I think the Latino of today, because, we started this episode talking about identities constantly evolving.
Exactly.
I don't have to be the Dominican that you think I should be, right?
Right.
But as long as I represent and show love for the culture, sometimes I feel like it's not just suffice. It's like that's the flag that I wave, right? There's a lot of Latinos that are hardcore Latinos. And okay, so what are you doing for the community? Nothing, right?
Right. It's not to like, the idea here is don't put yourself in a box, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And also everyone's going to express themselves differently. Sometimes their culture is more prevalent and other times you express it a different way. As an adult was when I first realized like, okay, I really don't feel connected to my culture at all. I never even called myself Latina. Like, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm American and my family is this.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to travel and experience it myself and really see like, am I just kind of picturing Latino as one thing or is there more to it? And as I was traveling, I actually spent a few months traveling across Latin America. I like spent time in Peru, Mexico,
nice. You
Colombia.
did Machu Picchu?
I did.
Nice.
And in that time with people, not even of my family's culture, I realized like, wow, that we have so much in common. Even people living and from Peru, I have in common somebody that lives in New York, you know, just because there's so much unity through just that shared culture. And the idea actually came from a friend. They called me one day and like, hey, like I have this idea. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. I love that because you live in the US and, you have culture, especially in New York, it's everywhere, but it's nothing like, living in Latin America.
Yeah.
So I jumped at the chance to help him with the branding of his game. He actually created the Asian version of Tragos.
Oh, get out of here.
It's called Asian Flush.
Okay.
And
because Asians get flushed when they drink.
Yeah.
Because what is that? Because they have a certain allergy to alcohol, right?
Yeah, it's like genetics. And then he helped me kind of with the marketing while I developed the brand for both games and just, started off this fun little gig idea. And as I evolved it, that's where I brought in my cousin. I said, I shared like a few card ideas. Yeah. I'm like, do you relate to this? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, now we got two people feeling like, okay, we have something here.
Yeah.
Once we reached out to like a few other friends, like my Mexican friend, another, like
kind of like a focus group.
Pretty much, yeah. You start to realize like, oh, it's not just our moms that do this. It's not just our family that has this tradition. Like it's really that shared. And so that's where, that's where the meat of the game evolved.
Howdy, y'all. Marqus Aycart here. I would not be here with Made You Look if I didn't have any sponsors. So I want to thank my sponsor, Sky Llamas Podcast out of Totowa, New Jersey. You can visit them at skylamaspodcast.com or check out their Instagram. Be sure to follow them, support them. And heck, if you want a podcast of your own, come on down. But check them out on Instagram, Sky Llamas Pod. That's at Sky Llamas Pod. And once again, their website is skylamaspodcast.com. And I want to thank my other sponsor. I would not be here at all with any of this if it weren't for Forager Brands. Forager Brands out of Montclair, New Jersey, serving the New York tri-state area and beyond. You can find them at Forager Brands on Instagram and foragerbrands.com. They are the brand agency that's specializing in everything we spoke about today: brand identity, strategy, the art of storytelling, and creating those first impressions that become lasting impressions. Once again, that's foragerbrands.com. You can find them on Instagram at foragerbrands. Now back to the show.
All right, we're talking about Latino. And it's quite the time to be living in as a Latino.
Yeah.
We got the Benito Bowl coming up with Bad Bunny or Benito at the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of cool Latino stuff happening. And, there's also some stuff that's happening that's not the most favorable, drawing the, I'm not going to get into politics and all that, but the scope is on the Latinos, right? Whether you're American, an immigrant, etc. Latinos are,
We're here.
we're becoming the majority, ethnicity or race. So this segues me to, how did you build something Latino-centered without turning it into a cliche?
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, you did read some of those cards. We can get pretty cliche in there. And what I've realized is that Latinos don't really shy away from cliche because you don't hear it enough, Like the fact that you can find a game like ours in Target and have something that speaks that widely, even though it is cliche, I think people still love it. They're like, oh, I'm on the shelf? What? But, I think where we reel it in is in the branding itself. We don't talk about the chancla every day. We don't have like, I don't know, for example, like a Mexican pattern all over our stuff because we're not a game para Mexicans. We're not, a game for any particular culture. So I try to reel the brand back and make it as very like minimal as possible. It's like a subtle nod to, our colors and like triangles that you might find as part of like the pattern motifs, but it's very much a minimal game. Like the only thing that really says it's Latino is the name itself, which speaks enough to the brand.
So, one of the many things that we align with outside of being Latino or Latino Americans is you come from a designer's background.
Right. Yeah.
So I've always gave you much praise with, I love the branding here. I'm one thing, speaking of our parents, my mom has always accused me of that. I'm brutally honest. I don't know if that's a Latino thing or a me thing, but I love this branding because, you shared exactly what always went through my mind, that it's objective is not the word here, but it's very balanced. Because it's not indicative or it doesn't represent just one aspect of the Latino culture. It's universal in the most subtle of ways, which is, I don't know how to explain it, but I love that. And I think the name does a lot, right? Naming something is one of the most daunting and laborious tasks in branding, right? If you don't have the right name, everything else after that's an uphill battle. So I think Tragos, because it's so universal, that lends to, the perfect execution here in regards to brand identity. So I'm going to ask you a fun question. If Tragos was a person at the party, who are they and what's their energy like?
Yeah. I feel like I'm a little jealous of Tragos because the person I'm going to describe is not necessarily me, but it can be me.
Okay.
Especially with some Tragos. I would say Tragos is kind of like your favorite primo or like prima, like your favorite cousin. Just walked into the party.
That black sheep primo or the...
No, the cool one. The
cool
one that
primo.
Everyone's cool with. Like the
center of attention.
The tios and tias love them. The little cousins love them. And they come into the party and everyone's like, hey, like that sound that everybody's like, they made it.
Yeah.
Fashionably late, of course, more than everyone else.
Yeah.
And they're like, they want to catch up with you. They want to see like how you are in life. But then they also are the first ones to be like, shots?
And it's not just shots. They're passing the bottle. Well, this is, pre-pandemic when we used to just pass around the bottle. And I think about it now and it's like, how did we do that? That's like so gross. Like we're all swapping each other's spit essentially.
No, not even. It's alcohol.
Or is it the alcohol is so strong it's killing all the germs?
That's what I will always believe, even if science proves me wrong. So yeah, I would say I get like that, with a few drinks here and there. Not as much as I used to when I first started the business, but that is there for you, good times, bad times.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you hit it on the nail because I love that personification of what this game is if it were ever to manifest itself as a person. And that's, I think, a perfect description. So let's talk about the growth of the brand. What do you feel has been the most effective driver of growth so far? Is it UGC? And for, our audience members who don't know what UGC is, user-generated content. So for example, social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Is it that, UGCs, events, influencers, or partnerships?
Yeah, we've done it all at this point. And I would 100% say that the number one driver is our community through affiliates, not necessarily influencers. It's the people that want to be like a brand ambassador. They, we've seen so much growth on different platforms at different times of the business. And it's a little frustrating because it's not something I can control. It's like those viral moments we have that we try to replicate. And we're like, okay, we're not just there yet. But, we first blew up in 2019 when we first started because of this snowball effect. Somebody shared this like affiliate code we had set up on our website.
Okay.
And then somebody else shared it. And so just through that word of mouth and people willing to talk about it, not necessarily UGC, like people would just, write a Facebook post or even a tweet at the time. I don't know. I don't know what it's called right now.
Is it an X?
That snowball effect of people talking about it has been our biggest driver. And then through our affiliate programs that we've tried to restart, we always see that growth. It's just maintaining it. So I owe it all to like our fans and our affiliate community, TikTok, like it's just a great, I guess, like symbiosis going on because then they also get, compensation out of it. And so that's something that we're actually trying to grow this year. So if anyone wants to be a TRAGOS affiliate, now's the time.
Cool. And then you have a specific link for that?
Everything's
all right, so we'll share that in the description and on the social media promotions. The way my mind works is I take a lot of, it's like that physical, situation with the client. Give me everything, right? Give me everything. I want all the archives. So from there, we can make sense of how to get into your brain and speak on your behalf and create on your behalf. So if I were to narrow it down to 3 words, what I feel has been the greatest growth element of TRAGOS, because we have discussed business stuffs all the time. And, obviously we met during a business event and, we follow each other on social media, but I feel like, synergy is one of those keywords. Symbiosis, right? Because one hand helps the other. And then ultimately it's community, right? And community, like you said, it can be unpredictable, but at the end of the day, community always comes together for the greater good. Right. And in this case, it's TRAGOS and what it represents. So as a creative and a strategic thinker and deliverer of assets, files, and the final outcome, right? The final output. What's one lesson you'd give to anyone building a culture-based brand?
File deliverer. That's funny.
.com.
I mean, it sometimes comes off as obvious, but it's really just finding something that speaks authentically to you. It's as simple as that. And, I think getting feedback would be helpful. But it's feedback from, again, your audience, right? So,
in other words, be open.
Right, right. Authentic and open, because at the end of the day, you'll always come out with an honest brand, not something that's trying too hard or even being too cliche. Does it speak to you first? And then it can expand from there.
Yeah, Kimmy shared something with me that really resonated with me earlier today. We were talking about something totally off topic, but I feel now it's essentially relatable to this subject matter, which is the keyword authenticity. How can you be authentic in a world that's so non-authentic, right? Everyone's trying to fake this facade of, to earn your trust, to build value with you and establish some sort of guarantee, right? That's the essence of marketing, branding, sales. So I guess let's make that a 2-part question. Authenticity is your answer, but how do you, create something authentic, or how are you yourself authentic in a world that's so filled with instant gratification and, platforms like social media that create this false facade of I'm only going to show you the best part of me, and the other layers, yeah, let's keep that over here, right? Like we live in this world where it's the haves and have-nots or keeping up with the Joneses. So with that said, how can you be authentic in today's world?
Well, I guess it depends on where you're showing up, right? Because your brand is one thing, so how it looks, how it feels, your logo, all that, right? That's your brand identity. Does that speak to you, or are you just designing or, delivering something that is trendy?
It's
or
just well composed.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that, start off with that foundation. And then from there, it's like, how do you show up on social media? I mean, that's kind of a hard one, because you're right. Like, you don't want to show like the bad and the ugly. You just want to show the good.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's still something I'm working on. I think with social, the reason I think we have been successful is because we rely on the authenticity of our fans saying like, we love this game and look, like we've played with our family and then I show up authentic in my design and I don't know, maybe in moments like this, but I have a terrible time doing like a reel or a skit or just kind of like talking to a camera and like saying like, this is my business.
Yeah, the performance aspect.
Right, right. So I guess it's also like what feels right to you, Like they say every brand or founder now has to show up as like an influencer.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't feel authentic to you until it does, and like maybe you want to practice, maybe you want to become that person, but until it does, find ways that you can authentically show up as yourself, because then it'll just be so much easier than pretending to be, a content creator or what have you.
Yeah, I think well said. I mean, it's authenticity can't be taught, right? It's something that has to come from within. It has to be innate. It has to be something profound that you identify with, that is relatable. And especially in business, you are after a specific target audience. So if it feels disingenuous or fake or non-authentic, people will see that instantly, right? If you're just building something just for the sake of building it and it has no core, it's going to feel like a beautiful shell, right?
Yeah.
So as we close out, once again, I want to thank you for hopping on to Made You Look. How can people find you besides Target.com? Do you have a specific website? Is it Tragos.com or?
Yeah, it's Tragos Game, no S at the end, .com. We're on Amazon as well. We are, Target.com, Walmart.com, select stores. You could always do pickup. And we are in a few retailers. So it's funny, we don't actually know who, because sometimes it's just like a random purchase. But we have been found at like a random like Mexican gift shop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then
Tragos is spreading.
Oh, and TikTok shop. That's our big one.
And then your Instagram is Trago.
At Tragos Game. Same thing as the website.
Game. So no S, just Trago Game?
Tragos Game.
Okay, and then the website is, one more time?
Tragosgame.com.
Okay, awesome. And then I don't know if you want to give your personal social. Do you want to be found, or you just want to keep it Tragos focused?
You're going to find me. You're going to find me if you're following Tragos. I'm like always tagged or co-collaborating like on the posts and whatnot. So I'm there.
So as we close out, I want to ask you, this is sort of a lightning round. This is your mic drop moment. What does representation in branding actually mean to you? And after someone's played Tragos for the first time, what do they usually say or feel?
Oh, those are such different questions. Okay. So the first one is, what does branding and representation mean to me?
What does representation and branding mean to you?
Okay.
Which I think we covered a lot of that, but like if we're going to sum it up.
Yeah. Okay. It's about creating and showing up in a way that feels authentic to yourself. Because if you are creating something, it's because you have found a problem you want to solve or a space you want to fill with something that you can bring. And so starting off with what feels right to you is going to feel right for your customer. And from there, it's just evolving.
Evolution. Awesome. That's you're going to hear a lot of this word here, keywords. I operate off keywords. Give me one bullet point, give me 5 bullet points, and I'll turn it into a big thesis. So, and in terms of, okay, someone just played Tragos. We're talking about it's here in Mexico, Peru, Brooklyn, Bronx, New Jersey, everywhere. Your mama, your grandmama's playing it. Everyone's playing it. What is the one thing that people walk away with, especially playing it for the first time?
This sounds so simple, but the number one word I get is fun.
Okay. Yeah.
That was so much fun, and
fun is universal.
Yeah. It's, I mean, there are some reviews and testimonials that really get to me. And the ones that are like, wow, I feel seen. I've heard that a lot. Wow, that sounds just like me. You captured me.
Oh, nice.
And those are just, wow.
That's quite the compliment.
Because the people that are like, I never felt Latino enough. It hits home in a way that hit home for me. And so I think that's my love letter to my people.
Awesome. Folks, thank you for joining us on Made You Look. And I'm going to share this. Identity isn't a marketing angle. It's a promise. If your brand is rooted in culture, your job is to make people feel seen. And then let the product connect the room, which is perfect, a perfect connection with Tragos. Carolina, thank you so much for joining me on Made You Look. And one last time, at Tragos.
At Tragos Game on Instagram, TikTok, tragosgame.com. You can find us online.
Awesome. And then for the rest of it, just look at the description and you'll find all the details on how to find your own Tragos game and start playing today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining us. Until then, see you next time on Made You Look. Peace out.
This is a test.